Woolworths here evidently is not just a grocery store. In Australia, it's a big supermarket chain.
And across the road is Woolworths, which is supplied once a week by barge, Thursday being the day, so all fresh produce is there for picking at the moment. We do not have Sunday trading, so if you need anything, get it before tomorrow. Across the road, the Queensland government gave us funding for a brand new hospital. Should be ready for occupancy by the end of the year, over there on the right. We've got a multi-purpose sporting field on the right. On the left is a park for the children to enjoy. And this is the original part of Weipa Township. The kindergarten beyond the park is the original old school building. The white building here is our only private doctor surgery in town, and that's the original old bowls club. It's on. Named as such after a Presbyterian mission tried to set up here in the early 1900s. They couldn't find our fresh water supply, so they moved over to Napranum. Now our fresh water supply that we use, we found it, is known as subaquifer surface. It's totally fed by the annual rainfall, specifically to bring all product over from the Andoon mine over to East Weipa stockpile. So there's two active mines here in Weipa. There's Andoon, which is over this river, and East Weipa, which is where we're going to go to. And that railway line simply goes between the two. Is lateric bauxite. Now lateric bauxite is found mostly in the tropical regions of belt of the world. They're thought to be formed from many millions of years of weathering of sedentary rock, and the sedentary rock types are usually the granites, basalt, slate, although it can be quite a variety of forms of rock that have formed bauxite. And lateric bauxite of course holds a fairly good silicate level, which makes it extremely useful in the production of aluminium. Now this mine operates 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. The only time it stops is in the advent of a cyclone, or we haven't had a cyclone for 19 years, so a cyclone warning, which we generally get at least one of per season. Shop over here on the right hand side. All mechanical works are done on the mine itself. Alright, as I said, the method of mining is known as strip mining. I'll turn the bus around and park so you can watch this one coming in. So essentially it is basic excavation of the Earth's surface. It looks extremely simple, but it is a little bit more complicated than it does look, because they don't want to compromise the load by having any ironstone in it. So the operators of the loader have to be reasonably experienced in order to make sure they only get bauxite. That's where Roger's job comes into, he's the quality controller. Now, history. I'll give you a bit of history lesson. 1956, Dr. Harry Evans came into Weipa looking for gas and oil. He discovered these pisolites of red dirt that we affectionately known as bauxite, which he sent off to Bell Bay, the only refinery in Australia at the time. They got extremely lively and excited and formed the company Comalco, the Commonwealth Aluminium Corporation, because what Dr. Evans had discovered was the largest bauxite ore body in the world. So in 1962 they moved their first load of bauxite from this area, in that they moved 16,000 tonne. And as I suggested, they have increased that dramatically over the years, where last year they moved 16.8 million tonne, and this year they're anticipating on moving 20.1 million tonne. They probably could have moved a little bit more this year, but there was a little bit of a downturn in shipping, as the Panamaxes that are classically the vessels coming in here, a few of them had been diverted to the coal industry for a short period. So 20.1 million tonne is just an estimated average for this year. What am I going to tell you now? yeah, fascinating fact. My fascinating fact is that in 1880, when Ned Kelly was running around the bush here with the tin cap on his head, there was a German scientist sitting in a laboratory in Germany trying to work out how to extract alumina from bauxite. He came up with a process of processing in 1887, which involves benefication, which is done here in Weipa. Essentially, that is washing the bauxite to get all the organic products off it, and then the first stage of refinery, which is adding caustic soda to the bauxite, which crystallises the alumina and the red dirt falls off. I think it's fairly fascinating that that was all worked out in 1887, and they're still using the same method today. Tyres look fairly impressive from this view, actually. $17,000 a pop if you want to buy one. This mine here in East Weipa that we're on has only got a maximum life of another 6 to 8 years. There's not much mining life left in this particular deposit, so they're going to start that deep water port facility in Boyd Bay no later than the year 2010. There's in excess of $900 million worth of work to be going on down there to commence the mining from that area. I'm glad you told me that, because I've been because of the normal. What Roger's just said is when Camelco walked out of the mine here, when they merged into Rio Tinto, they made them sign an agreement that the mine would be committed to maintaining the town. If it wasn't for that, the town wouldn't exist, because the Rio Tinto would have just walked out and just done fly in, fly out. My biggest, I really didn't know that before. I always imagined the reason for changing of the housing titles here in Weipa from mining lease to freehold title meant that the mine was trying to back out of its obligations to the town. But there's actually a legislation in place to stop that. So that makes it very interesting, because the mine is responsible for all infrastructure in Weipa. The water, the sewerage, the roads, everything they are financially responsible for. Diesel generated town. This power station runs all of the Weipa township, as well as the East Weipa mine, as well as the Napranum community. Andu mine has its own power station. And of course Sherga, the remote Air Force base, has its own power station. Its own vessels, fully loaded. We'll have a look when we come out. But that's the new wharf that was completed at the beginning of last year. There's a lot to the shipping which I'll explain to you when we come back out. We're not an all depth port. We can't have any bulk ship in here. They are very much restricted with water depth coming into Weipa Harbour. So we can't have anything greater than 85,000 tonne capacity vessels. We'll explain more when we come back out. From bauxite, it's a special reserve of bauxite. That's the hopper. Hopefully everyone can see it from here. That's the hopper. He goes up there, there's a set of traffic lights up there to tell him when that unloaded that quickly. It's going over to benefication. As I said, benefication is the only processing that's done here in Weipa, which is essentially washing all the organic materials off it. If you don't wash all the organic materials off the bauxite, it compromises the aluminium production. So all the tree matter and the animal waste needs to be thoroughly washed off the bauxite before it's sent down to the refinery. It's essentially washing all that organic product off and dropping the oversize onto that first extraction conveyor, which is going across. The rest of the bauxite is then dropping in. There's a series of belt-driven motors with a rectangular hopper underneath them. It's got a 3-tiered grill in them. It's vibrating the bauxite, so the excess water is being shaken off and the tailings are shaken off and dropped through. As you can see, considerable more is being kept than what is being rejected. Only about, in total, less than 5% of that overall truck yield is waste.